Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to Let's Talk, the series where fish are friends, not food. This is your friendly neighborhood birdman, and today we're going to talk The Little Mermaid. So The Little Mermaid is a retelling of the 1989 classic, The Little Mermaid. It tells a story about Ariel, a young mermaid who doesn't feel like she fits in the world that she's in, the underwater world, and she wants to live the way we do, live like a human. She wants to be a part of our world. So she takes to collecting knickknacks from the surface world, and in doing so, she finds herself in areas where there are like shipwrecks and things like that. So that does mean she does occasionally come across humans in boats. So she watches humans in boats from afar, and one night she comes across Prince Eric on a voyage, and Prince Eric is sort of a maverick himself. He's like the opposite of Ariel. He likes to be on the water. He likes stuff from the sea. He collects, rocks and things and coral and stuff like that. And one night the prince's ship crashes into some rocks. So the crew all fall overboard, and they lose track of the prince. And then Ariel saves the prince, and she washes up ashore with him. And he's, like drowning, he has water in his lungs or whatever. So she sings him a song, and he's like coming to, his eyes are like, barely opening. He doesn't really see her face, but he hears her voice. And then when the men come and rescue him, she runs away, and the prince is like, oh God, I got to find that girl who saved me. And the only thing he can go on is her voice. And of course, Ariel's father does not approve. In this story, his wife was killed by men, so he's obviously distrusting of the human world, and he wants his daughter to stay away from that. But of course, this is a remake of the classic, so we all know that Ariel wants to be a part of that world, and she's going to do whatever it takes to do that. And that being the case, she comes across her aunt, Ursula, and Ursula is kind of mad at her brother. Her brother is the king. So she comes up with the scheme of getting back at her brother by taking his daughter and doing what? You don't really know why she wants it until like the end of the movie, where she kind of uses Ariel as like a bargaining chip. So right off the bat, I just want to say that I actually enjoyed this, which was very surprising, because typically with the live action Disney remakes, I'm not a huge fan of them. The last one I liked, I think, was Aladdin, which I, to this day, still think is like a B movie. It's pretty good. But obviously you got stuff like The Lion King, which was just a big why. Why did, like, that had no reason to exist. And I think the main reason this one works for me is that it seemed like there was care and thought put into this one, as opposed to The Lion King, which was just a shot-for-shot remake, kind of. Like, some things were slightly different, of course, but then they went like the photorealistic route, which for me felt weird, because you didn't get like the emotions from the characters. They were like real-looking lions, but then their emotions were just blank, like a real lion's would be, but they're talking. And if somebody talks without any emotion, it just comes across very weird. Like, my voice can get really loud, and I can emote, and I can be sorrowful. But if my face doesn't move, it comes across as very fucking weird. This one, even though the characters are like somewhat photorealistic, they do emote. You can see Sebastian's face when he's shocked or afraid or nervous or angry. Like, all of his emotions actually come through. But the one thing I will say about that is I felt like they could have gone a little bit further. If I were making this particular property, I would have made the animals just not be realistic. Like, just make them, I don't know, not look like how they look in the cartoon, but just forget about the photorealism. We don't really want that. And I think you have seen that with The Lion King, and I keep bringing that up because The Lion King was very egregious with this. And it seems like Disney's kind of softened whatever stance they had for The Lion King on this one, because the animals do emote and they do look more animated, which I appreciated. I just think that they should have gone a little bit further into the fantasy aspect of it. Like that's what I would have done if I were making this myself. Like there's a very egregious moment during Sebastian's song Under the Sea, where the animals are kind of photorealistic. And in the original cartoon, they were like doing stuff like playing musical instruments and stuff like that. But this one, I don't know, it comes across really weird because they're photorealistic and they're just doing random things. They're not playing instruments, which that's what I'm saying. I would have leaned more into the fantastic element and just made them play instruments. Like, why the fuck not? Like, they're already talking. You know what I mean? We're already dealing with a story with mermaids and mer people. It's just and magic. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just fucking do the thing. Like, just go ahead and make everything anthropomorphized. Like, just do it. And speaking of the music, wow. I love the music in this. And when I was a kid, I loved the original The Little Mermaid. I was actually a baby when the original film came out in 1989. So I didn't obviously catch it in theaters when I was a kid. So I had it a little bit later in the 90s because I had all the Disney movies on cassette tape. And me and my brothers, we would watch all of them. Oliver and Company and freaking Toy Story and, you know, obviously The Lion King and The Little Mermaid. And The Little Mermaid, for me as a child, was a film that I enjoyed because of the songs. I'm a very musical guy. I love music. I play music. I've always been endeared to good sounds and good melodies. And The Little Mermaid was one of those that had all of that. So obviously I'm a little boy liking what is probably more geared towards girls, but I still enjoyed it for the music. And this movie blew me away with the music that they did. I thought casting Halle Bailey, God, her name is so close to Halle Berry. Her parents knew exactly what they were fucking doing, naming her Halle Bailey. They knew what they were doing. Casting Halle Bailey was a great choice. Like, you have an actual recording artist singing these songs, and God, her voice is amazing. You know, I wasn't really a fan of hers. I don't really listen to her music, but I think now I'm going to. She killed Part of Your World. She sang that with so much passion. I got chills. Like, there were two moments that she did the, you know, part of your world. Up where they stay all day in the sun. That, oh my God, I was sitting there like, ooh, she did that. Part of that world. But just speaking of Halle herself, I thought she was great in this role. Like, she is a singer, but she can act. She did a good job here. I think she might be the best character in the film, followed very closely by Sebastian. Sebastian is going to have your theater rolling. That guy's great. I loved him. Love every moment with him. Let's address the elephant in the room. I just said Halle Bailey is playing Ariel, and Halle Bailey is a black actress. Now, I've said this many times before. I do not care about race or gender swaps in films, especially if there was like source material and it is being adapted. I really don't care about those two things as long as the character's race and or gender is not integral to the character they are playing. Black Panther got to be black. That's it, period. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my position on it. I thought she was great in this role. Could another actress have played the character? Sure. But I think them choosing to cast someone that can actually blow and act was a good decision. I think she was a great choice for this role, specifically because this is a musical and she is going to be singing. Could you have found a white actress that can blow? Sure, you could have, but I think they went with her because she embodied the role perfectly. I thought she did a fantastic job. But I think the problem with the people that have an issue with the actress's race is multiple fold. The first problem that I have is people don't seem to understand that this is a fantasy series. It's not reality. They can be any race. I mean, it's a mermaid. Mermaids don't exist. I don't see why they have to be a Caucasian. Ariel could have been an Asian woman, an Indian woman, a Mexican woman. All of that would have been fine with me. That's just how I see it, because it's not a real thing. And obviously Ariel's ethnicity, if we can call it that, because she's a fish, a half fish, doesn't matter. It does not matter to the character. So I don't care who plays her. But I think the people that claim the original is like one of their favorite movies, and then they have an issue with the casting of the character, I don't think they actually got the message of the original film, which was obviously acceptance. I mean, she's literally from a different culture, a different species, if you will, and she wants to be a part of the other world, and she gets accepted into the other world, and her father accepts, her choice to be a part of another world. So like the entire message was acceptance. So if you claim to love the original film, but cannot accept someone of a different ethnicity playing the character, I don't think you got the message of the original film. Oh, and before I forget, there is actually an explanation for the ethnicity of the character. King Triton's daughters, he has multiple, I forget the number, it might be 7. It might be 7. And I think that's important. But all of his daughters are of different ethnicities. There's an Asian one, there's an African one, there's what appears to be like a Nordic one. It's a variety of ethnic groups for his daughters. And then Javier Bardem, who is playing King Triton himself, I think he is Spanish. All of his daughters are different ethnic groups because they are from the different parts of the ocean. Now, I know that's weird because they all have the same mother, but like they're supposed to represent the different parts of the world. So that's a very quiet explanation for the race of Ariel in this. And that might not, do anything to assuage the hate for, the so-called race change for the character. But there is a very small, quick, if you blink, you'll miss it explanation for that. And I just thought I would throw that in there. There were some things that I did find a little on the cringy side. And Prince Eric's song, he has a song. I don't know. I didn't really like the moment with him singing. I felt that was a little cringe, not like forced cringe. Obviously, it's a part of the story and it has to be sung and it has to be shown. It just, I don't know, man. I didn't really like that moment. I don't know. I'm watching him sing and I'm like, ooh, this is kind of uncomfortable. And Awkwafina is in this movie. She plays Scuttle. For the record, I enjoyed her as Scuttle. I can see how she can become grating in this film for some people. I actually was walking out of the theater and I heard this family walking out and they were like, yeah, I didn't like the voice of that bird. And then one of the members of that family was like, yeah, that was Awkwafina. She's like, yeah, I didn't like that. So I feel like some people are going to come out with that. But for me, I like Awkwafina. I think she's funny. But yeah, her voice is just not the most pleasant for most people. So she's featured kind of prominently as Scuttle. Scuttle is a character that is very prominent in this film. So your mileage may vary with her. The guy who did Sebastian was great. That's all I got to say. He was fantastic. I loved him. I don't even know who the voice actor is, but he did a good job. And let's talk about Melissa McCarthy. She was fantastic as Ursula. I felt like that was perfect casting. Thinking back on it, I can't think of anybody who could have played that role better. Like, she looked just like Ursula to me. When I think of Ursula, obviously Melissa McCarthy is big. I don't mean that in a negative way, just pointing out the facts. And Ursula was big. And I thought, I'm just like looking at her, and then I'm thinking of like my mind's eye of Ursula. I'm like, damn, that was as good as Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. She was great. Yeah, you know, like how Melissa has moments where you feel like she's just playing herself in every role. No, she disappeared into Ursula, and I think she was one of the better parts of this film. I wish she was featured more though, because God, when I'm off the top of my head, I'm just out of the theater, and I can remember 3 or 4 distinct scenes. Obviously, she's the main antagonist, and she's at the end as, you know, the big fight or whatever. But I think she got like 3 scenes, just off the top of my head. I'm probably wrong. There's probably more than that, but those are the ones that were like in my mind right now. So I kind of would have liked to see her more. But yeah, no, I enjoyed this movie, man. I'm sitting there watching it. I'm waiting for it to just be trash, because that's just what I expect from Disney live action remakes. And this movie surprised me, kind of like Aladdin. I saw Aladdin, you know, when it first came out, and I went into that going, oh my God, Will Smith as the genie. Holy smokes, what were they thinking? And came away with, I see what they were thinking. That wasn't half bad. I'd like to see a part 2. And I'm not saying I'd like to see a part 2 of this. I know the story continues in the animated world, but I feel like this was just like a one-off, and it should be a one-off, you know? Like it ended perfectly. And I thought Halle was great. I thought Melissa was great. The guy who plays Sebastian was great. I loved Awkwafina. I laughed at Awkwafina a lot. Again, your mileage may vary. Prince Eric was fine. You know, he's not the main focal point of the film, but they do characterize him more than they did in the original, which is something I can appreciate. I like remakes that give you more. You know, like they dive a little bit more or a little deeper, or they deviate in a way that works better for live action. The only thing about live action in this one is the animals, which I felt like they should have just gone more fantastic. But yeah, Prince Eric, I like his characterization here, but he's not the best part of the movie. That would be Halle, Sebastian, Awkwafina for me, and Melissa. And I thought all those elements worked very, very well. So I'm going to give this movie a B+. Surprisingly enough, a B+. My only complaints are the fact that I felt like they should have gone a little bit more on the fantastic route when they're doing the CGI for the animals, which again is not bad. It's just, it's weird when you see certain things like the under the sea section. You'll get what I mean. And if you don't get what I mean, then maybe it just works for you. But for me personally, I felt like they could have gone a little bit harder on the fantastical elements. So I do recommend you go check this film out. If you have children, they're going to love it. It's actually very funny. It's very entertaining. It's very emotional. I love the emotional aspects of this film. I'm not a big softie, you know, but the film definitely touched me, especially with Halle singing, which oh my, her voice is outstanding. Great casting, guys. I know she's black and Ariel's not black. She bodied Ariel. Just saying. Anyway, thanks, guys. That's going to do it for this episode of Let's Talk. If you have seen The Little Mermaid, please let me know what you thought of it in the comment section below. But until next time, this has been your friendly neighborhood Birdman, and I'll see you under the sea. Peace.